This is your host, Mae Renfroe, and I have another wonderful guest on with me today. And so, as always, I'm excited about it. This is going to be food for thought here. And yeah, we have Monica Staley. So, I just want a big welcome to you today. And yeah, you're going to be talking to fear to peace and motherhood in your book uh sorry, her prayer for peace, the devotional for moms. So I'm really excited about that, you sharing that um with us today, and your story and everything, and how you've just made it through, walked through this. So yeah, thank you, Monica. And how was your day today?
Hi, I'm well. I'm well. I'm excited to be on. Thank you, May. Um,
Yeah.
so this like kind of fear to peace, as I understand it, you have 10 children at home. So
Well, seven at home, 10,
okay.
10 in all. Seven at
Okay.
home, ages 16 to almost 2. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, well, and so I'm from the Minneapolis, Minnesota area, and I have twins, boy-girl twins, Hope and John,
Yay.
and they
Oh,
will be
wow.
3 in July.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we live with my husband, of course, Ryan, and we have a Labradoodle dog, and it's just,
Mm.
man, they are, motherhood. My kids are just the biggest blessing, and
Mhm.
there's been a lot of growth, and yeah, this book came out of that. So yeah.
Oh, wow. That's it. And I love the names, Hope and John, because we have our youngest is John. And it's funny that if it was a girl, I was going to name her Hope. So I was like,
Oh,
oh, I was. Yeah. So the ninth, this is our 10th one that we have. My ninth one, I named her Faith. And I felt like God just gave us that name. And so then when I was expecting it again, I was like, okay, if it's a girl, I'm going to name Hope to kind of go with Faith. And then if not, then the boy, then my husband chose the name John. So that is that's
wow,
wild.
how fun!
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
So,
Um,
yeah. Okay, so you kind of, yeah, tell us how this all came into being for you,
yeah,
with this
yeah.
book and your journey.
And I'll share a little bit about my journey and then a little about the book. And if I could just take, 10 seconds here to just pray. I'm so grateful
Yes.
to you, Marie, for having this
Yeah.
this ministry on YouTube here. And I'm just hopeful, Lord, that you speak through me, and that every mom who's tuning in hears just what you want her to hear, Lord, that she um, is open to hearing from us. With you at the source of all of it, Lord. We love you. Amen. So, like I shared,
Amen.
I'm Monica, and I am in my last year in my 30s. I turned 39 at the beginning of this year here, and I've got twin 3-year-olds. So I was really, blessed to grow up in a Christian home. My parents, were believers, are believers, and taught me about Jesus and His love for us. Um,
Okay.
this, I think oh, I the book came from um, about the hardest 18 months of my life is when this book
Mm.
came into fruition, into my heart from the Lord. And so my kids at this point were 18 months old.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, yeah. We struggled with infertility when we got married. And I think at that time of just hope and praying for a child,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I sort of idealized what motherhood was, going to be like in that waiting and in that prayerful process. So when Hope and John were born, it was kind of coming off of the pandemic, and my son had some health issues, kind of living into this like unrealistic, unmet expectations of motherhood. And I also fell into kind of this trap of comparison. And,
Mm.
of course, there were two of them. So at once. And um, really, the health issues that my son struggled with, I found myself really caught up in worry and fear
Okay. Yeah.
after just months and months of this. And it brought me to a dark place. I found myself like seeking, answers from Google more than seeking answers from God. And while I grew up as a prayerful person, um, and I remained faithful and prayerful through our wanting to be parents.
Mhm.
Um, I was not prepared for this, not prepared for that first, I guess, 18
Mhm.
months of being a mom until
Oh,
um,
wow.
this kind of fear and this worry. What at one point around that 18-month mark of Hope in John's life, the knocking that the Lord had been doing on my heart, I felt it, and I came to my knees and had some friends pray too, and I just said, Lord, I've been trying to do so much of this on my own. I haven't been involving you in this blessing that you've given me and my
Yeah.
kids and motherhood.
Yeah.
And I asked
Oh,
him if he
wow.
could just take this from me and take the burden, take the worry and the fear and guide
Yeah.
me and give me that wisdom. And so that was my kind of my prayer for peace. I really
Wow.
did kind of
Oh,
wake up that next morning with a peace I'd never experienced as a mom. And
wow.
it's not like the hard or the challenges or the growth opportunities, not like those go away.
Yeah.
But when I really was faced with the reality of what it felt like to be in his
Mhm.
presence in motherhood and to get that guidance from him and allow him to care for me in that way, um, it has been uh, the journey. It's been a journey and it's still hard, but it's more fun and it is more
Yeah.
fulfilling. Is all of the good things
Yeah.
more when we do motherhood with him as Christian moms.
Wow. Wow, I was gonna say it sounds like it was life changing. I mean, so you still
Mhm,
had challenges and things you had to walk through, but now you're doing it with the peace of mind that God gives you. Only
mhm,
that peace
mhm.
in God, and you gave those worries to Him because it wasn't going to help anyway, right? I don't know why we somehow figure if we're gonna work things out, but if we keep mulling it over and mulling over in our mind and try, but it's just not going to. And
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
release that, and then His peace just came
that's
in.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And can I ask, what was the health journey with your son? Now, did he have some health complications or
Oh, sure. I mean, he
did I
had
miss that?
he had a lot of different things, and I don't go
Okay.
into it too much in the book.
Okay.
I share kind of a little bit, but sort of more. I don't want to say insignificant, but you know, they both had lip and tongue tie releases.
Oh,
But
okay.
then John, he went under for other things and had multiple like kind of procedures and surgeries. And
Yeah.
there's a few things that we're still monitoring for him, but he, by the grace of God and prayer is doing well and just
Yeah.
continuing to monitor his thriving. So yeah.
Oh, wow. So definitely legit concerns and things, but not you still don't have to live in fear. And you brought that to Jesus and
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Uh-huh,
Oh, that's
uh-huh.
really good.
So this sort of 18-month mark, it's so I wish I had it all to the journey. I wish I had it all to the date of when it all went down, but it was sort of this beginning of January 23 that I laid this down
Mhm,
and in replace, my fear was replaced with just his presence, which is a peaceful, loving, compassionate presence. And
mhm,
um sort of how the book came to be is Hope and John I had been home with them that 18 months and they had just started at they call it school, their little school. Um, and I was, so my profession, I'm a health coach and I teach yoga. And, I was excited to kind of get back into my business a little bit with this extra time. Uh, but a friend of mine had invited me to join in this pretty intensive Bible study, pretty intensive small group study. And it was in there, and while there was like a book and a workbook and a playlist and a video, and we would connect the group, we would all connect via Zoom. Lots of facets and just so much learning and growing. But the point really was to carve out time and to spend with him, to hear from the Lord. And in that, I heard, my daughter share our story with other moms. And I have so here's the book. I have kind of a dialogue in the book of me, God and me having this conversation of, I'm like, Lord, are you sure? I'm a pretty new mom. I'm still discouraged sometimes. Like, you're sure you want me to do this? I'm not sure I'm up to it. And just this kind of doubt. And that's when he said, well, what about all the Christian moms and just all the fellowship that you've been part of and that I've blessed you with over the years? And, ask them, I provided this peace for you in your motherhood, and I've done that for other moms. So that's, I'm one of 33 Christian moms who contributed to the book from their 30s to their 70s, with all different ages and stages of kids. No one with 10 kids, the most has 6.
Okay.
But it's all about, the ways that the Lord has provided peace throughout the journey of Christian motherhood. So yeah, I
Oh,
came up with
wow.
3 questions, and their answers to the questions became the content of the book. So just, you can imagine, a whole variety of
Yeah.
different weeks or chapters. It's weekly, so there's 52 kind of weeks or chapters, and there's at least 3 kind of testimonies or contributions from different moms throughout each week. So get to hear just a variety of the ways that he cares for us and guides us in motherhood.
Oh, wow. That is neat. So they've written story. Have you just kind of share their story, or it's a piece that they've written?
Yeah, I'm happy to share
And
some
yeah.
excerpts. So,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and I guess I'll share the questions that I asked, and then I've got a couple excerpts kind of lined up answering these questions. But yeah, so the first question that I asked was, please share a time or season in your life when your Christian faith was tested as a result of motherhood. How did Jesus care for you and draw you back during this time? And I'm actually going to read from week 1, which is called Losing Yourself in Motherhood. So this is my friend Gina. She's in her 30s with 4 young to school age children. So she shares these beautiful words on losing yourself in motherhood.
Hey.
I recall the beginning of my motherhood journey being filled with many extremes. I was overwhelmed with joy, love, and fulfillment, along with anxiety, fear, and even anger. I was constantly serving. I remember hearing many of my mom friends say things like, I feel like I'm losing myself. I reflected often on this feeling and found myself explaining that it felt like I was shedding. I shed my sense of control, pride, vanity, perfection, selfish tendencies, and even some of my dreams. Shedding is a painful process. I would always run to the Lord in prayer and begrudgingly tell him how much this hurt and that it was all too much. I remember counting how many years I'd have until I could have my life back. My body, my sleep, my brain. I would tell him, surely this isn't how we are supposed to love. So I remember one day in particular, I was having a breakdown in front of the crucifix, asking the Lord how he could expect me to do this motherhood thing. As I gazed at our Lord's outstretched arms on the cross, with his head slightly bent downward, as if looking at me so lovingly and yet also uncomfortably, he gently reassured me. You can do it because I have done it first. This is my body, given up for you. I will do it with you. It's not your job. Let go and surrender to me so I can lead you, your marriage, and your children. I love them more than you do. Now, when I hear moms worry that they are losing themselves, I encourage them to lean in because shedding the old is how he makes way for the new.
Oh, wow.
So that's, um, I learned, so this book has been out at this point, um, for like 6 weeks. And when I
Oh,
don't know if
okay.
you knew that.
Oh,
So I learned that when they have kind of this quote like that, that's called a pull quote. And it's sort of like the highlight um, of the page. And my little
okay.
kind of comment after this in the book is that God wants us to lose ourselves in Him rather than feel like we are losing ourselves in motherhood.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so
Oh,
that's,
wow.
yeah, it's each week has like
Wow.
a Bible verse and a prayer and some reflective questions. Um, and I won't read all the questions, but I like, this one part of question one is, how has the Lord grown you in motherhood? And having that kind of perspective and having that lens when it does feel like, if you don't recognize,
Mm.
who you are some days. And, this might speak to someone who's, a new mom or maybe entering a new stage of motherhood. Um, but I love sort of shifting that from that you're losing yourself, but like what is it that you're gaining from the blessing of your kids
Yeah,
in the
for
growth
sure.
of that. So
Yeah. Because there's always going to be, yeah, that growth. And if we can see it that way, then we are seeing the bigger picture and can be okay with these things, that we're going through and with the
mhm.
mundane and all of that, realizing that in the bigger scheme of things that it is good. That's for our good and of course for our children. Um,
Absolutely.
that's helping us too. And yeah, the more that we have to cry out to God because we can't do it is good. That's right. That's where we're supposed to be. Is
Yeah.
right there at His feet, casting all our cares on Him, for He cares for us, uh, and then He'll be leading us. We're not supposed to be walking this out on our own strength.
Yeah, yeah, and that crying out, acknowledging that weakness, that's where his strength shines. That's where he's
Yeah,
able to work through
yeah,
us is when we really
yeah,
come to that spot of, Lord,
yeah,
I need you. You, not me. Yeah.
yeah. And now He can really work in that and through that powerfully. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's
Well,
really
I've got a
neat.
couple other excerpts. You want me to just kind of keep going here?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, the second question that I asked was, has there been a time in your life when you truly felt the peace, wisdom, and guidance of Jesus in terms of parenting your child or children? How did Christ's peace, wisdom, and guidance show up for you during this time? So I'm going to read, got my little cheat sheet here. I'm going to read
Okay.
from week 4, which is um, called When We Faithfully Obey God, He Can Work Against Sin and Evil in Our Families.
Mm.
So
Oh,
this is
wow. Yeah.
from Billy. She's in her 60s with 4 adult children. And she shares, one of my daughters and her husband became addicted to drugs a few years ago. Through this time, my grandchildren were removed from child protective services from their home and brought to my home. There were many attempts by me and others to help them get clean and get back on track. Things escalated several times. For 9 months, I prayed and prayed for sobriety for them. I prayed for my grandchildren. It wasn't until I heard that I needed to turn everything over to God that things changed. I knew I needed to
Mm.
back away and let Him do the work only He can do. This was guidance I had not expected. So, with everything in me, I laid everything down. I stopped contact and stopped any further attempts to help. Once I did this, I felt a sense of peace. It was
Mm.
crazy how peaceful I felt. How could this be? With all the trauma, turmoil, and potential disaster that could happen, how could I feel peaceful? Once again, God told me to be still and let Him work. I took that step back, even with many others coming at me, questioning why I wasn't helping. The peace that I had was so hard to describe. Then my daughter and her husband lost their home. They were living in their truck. They were losing everything, including their children. I loved them from afar and prayed all day, every day, but I knew I needed to stay strong. Then a sudden turn of events. Within 2 weeks, my daughter and son in law were suddenly in rehab. They had housing lined up for them and their children. They had a caseworker who was assigned to personally help them get their lives back. They were both in therapy. My son in law got a job and much more. I knew only God could have pulled this off. When I finally spoke with my daughter, she told me that one cold night as they were trying to stay warm in their truck, God spoke to her. He told her to get on her knees and give it all to Him. They both did it together and prayed for forgiveness and helped to get clean and get their lives back. From that moment on, things began to turn around. To this day, I know that had I not listened and stepped away to let God do His work, things probably would not have turned out for good. This season also brought my daughter so much closer to God and helped to build her faith.
Wow.
So
Ah,
I am
that's
just like,
amazing.
right? I mean, the testimonies and the stories of these
Yeah,
moms, I'm so grateful for their, for their courage and willingness to share with me so that I could share with
yeah,
other moms.
yeah,
So much of just kind of a side note, so much of the book is, while it's a weekly devotional, is having these kind of touch points with the Lord every day, which I'll
yeah.
actually get to in a little bit here, but
Okay.
also
Yeah.
kind of like generating this and cultivating this community of Christian moms. And week 5 is about like how to be a Christian mom and sort of like pray for and attract
Oh, okay.
attract that community.
Yeah.
Um, Someone wrote a review saying, motherhood, it takes a tribe, and this book brings a tribe to you,
Okay. Yeah.
which I thought was so sweet. And
Yeah.
so anyway, just hearing like what other moms have been through in motherhood and how, I mean, I don't know about you, like if hearing a directive from the Lord, um, I heard write this devotional and I could not, all the doubt that I had, all the
Oh.
uncertainty, I could not ignore. But this,
Yeah.
Billy, this mom, her directive from the Lord was stop, be still, and let me
Yeah.
work, right?
Yeah. Kind of just
And
let
so,
go and let God.
right, exactly. So I'm just so like moved by her, ability to hear him and, by
Mhm.
plugging in, being prayerful every day in life and in motherhood allows us to have that connection, but to then be obedient and to be still when
Mhm.
I'm sure she, all she wanted to do was do, right? To help in any way that she could. So, yeah, I'm just super moved by that story.
Wow.
So I wanted to be sure and share that.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like it. One of the what stands out to me is that she was able to find peace in the middle of that. It wasn't fixed at the time that she experienced that peace when she let go and, was obedient in that situation. She was able to find peace, but it wasn't resolved. And then later, God worked it out in that beautiful way that it would have took, to get that if she
Yeah.
would have
Well,
been, like
thank
you said, it
you.
would have been a different result. I'm
Right, yeah.
sorry?
Thank you. No, well, thank you for bringing that up because that's really
Yeah.
it. It's like
Yeah.
when we're obedient,
Yeah.
um, as just a child of God, but, as a mom, when we're obedient, um, and He provides, and that's His will, and that will, when we're doing that, that is a peaceful
Hmm.
experience
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it's Him, and yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that's the
Oh,
some
wow.
of the kind of stories in
That
here.
is really good. Well, I'm gonna have to get that in my Amazon cart.
Aw. Yeah, I mean, gosh,
I
I'd love to hear your, I'm sure have stories, just like this with just
Mhm.
all the time that you've been a mom and all the different kids and just there's a journey in each one.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I wrote a book about when we I don't know if you actually knew about part of a story that we did lose our second oldest son, in a four-wheeler accident in 2017. So I wrote the book on that called Holding On to Hope. And now I'm working on another one called Joy Unstoppable. So about finding joy in the middle of everything, how you can still live a joyful life or a life, uh, with unquenchable joy, regardless of what you go through. So, and it's going to be a 30-day devotional, but it's a lot of work to do it. I mean, like God, I was been wondering if I should put that together. I had I've wrote before in that book, Holding On to Hope, kind of 5 secrets of living a joyful life or 5 steps, whatever. And then finally, I felt like it was time just to kind of turn that into a devotion of itself. But it's a lot to do. But yeah,
It
finding,
is a lot. And, hopefully this comes as an encouragement to you. And it sounds like you've already, accepted the invitation that the Lord gave you. But, I wasn't looking for, I wasn't looking to write a book. I wasn't looking for anything more on my plate.
yeah,
And, when the Lord, if you've opened yourself up to, receiving and he wants you to do something, he is a persistent, he's a persistent God. And so at some point, I don't know, exactly what week or month it was there in January, February of last year. I just said, Lord, if you want this, like my schedule is yours. Keep my children healthy and safe so that I can focus on this
mhm,
and, just be in charge of my schedule and, his will be done. He made it happen. And
yeah.
so just encouragement for you. And I'm excited
Okay,
to see
thank
your
you.
works and, hear about all the impact that will have on
Yeah,
mamas and their families. So thank you for
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, yeah. And it's just amazing when I start getting in the Bible more to be able to find verses to go with these devotions. It's just, oh, the word God has given us, and everything
Mhm.
that you need is just right there. And so it's amazing. So that's, I just like, being able to find those scriptures and share them. And um, what peace. It
Yeah,
brings just knowing, yeah, what God said and
yeah,
that He is who He said He is and does what He said He does. And yeah, yeah,
amazing,
like,
amazing.
yeah, in your book. Yeah. So what, there was something you wanted to kind of share? Was that
Well,
a formula
so the
or
third
something?
question was what might you share with a new mom who believes in Jesus? And I had two excerpts I was
Oh,
going to share, but just for time's sake,
okay.
the first one I was going to share it was from week 2 and talks about raising kids for Jesus. The second one
Oh,
I was
that's
going to
good.
share was about a mom's prayer life.
Yeah.
Um, I can share both, or do you feel like one is kind of calling to you and maybe your audience, or kind of let you choose? So,
I don't know
raising.
either. We'll just start with one and then
Okay,
you
okay,
forget. But yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm open to the page. So, week
Okay.
2,
Go for
raising
it.
kids for Jesus.
Okay. Sounds
So
good.
Jeanette is in her 30s with 3 young to school age children. She shares. I started answering this question with so many practical parenting tips. But when you boil it all down, there is one main mission of motherhood if you follow Jesus: to make lifelong Jesus followers. All of the other advice and hard seasons of parenting fade away in comparison to our calling to teach our children about Jesus and how to walk with him. In each hard season of parenting, focus on extending grace and love to your children to show them a glimpse of their Heavenly Father. As they grow, use every hard moment with your children as an opportunity to turn their hearts and attention to the Lord. Use naughty moments to teach them about God's grace and point them to the work of Jesus on the cross instead of instructing behavior. I'm working on that right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make, make sure they understand that we as parents aren't God, but that we serve someone much higher because we too sin and need a Savior.
Yeah.
Make your home a place where they can learn about Jesus, ask questions about Jesus, and God willing, choose to follow Jesus themselves. And
Hmm.
so I kind of share a little bit after that. And this pull quote here, this maybe kind of thing to highlight is that so much of raising kids for Jesus is about allowing God to raise us as the mothers he wants us to be.
Mm. Oh,
Um,
wow. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. because we have to be that example. It first starts here, right? First starts
Absolutely.
here, and not,
Mhm.
yeah, and then just really making him known to them and everything you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Always talking about him and go ahead.
exactly. Well, and my last share, which I will share if there's
Oh yeah.
time,
Oh yeah.
this Jeanette, she was the last excerpt I shared. She, has, and even Gina sharing about the overwhelm of motherhood. And of course, Billy talking about this circumstance, with the drug addiction is when we spend time with him, when we prioritize prayer, we benefit from, the character that he is, that we want to be too,
Mhm.
as moms. And, um, having that prayer life allows us to parent our kids in that way. There's just no way you're going to be able to raise your kids for Jesus without him, in it, right,
Mhm.
with you.
Yeah.
So this last sort of share is from Beth. She's in her 60s and she has 3 adult children. So she shares, as a mom, I cannot encourage you enough to dig into the word daily. Start your day early in the morning before your household wakes in the word with Jesus. Wait upon him, listen to him. The day will be busy enough, full enough, and exhausting enough on its own to tire you out, so you won't have time at the end of the day because a mom's job is never done, no matter how young or old her children are. I encourage you to make a place in your home that is Mom's Prayer Corner, where you begin every day alone with Jesus. Don't give that up, not even for a day. Put Jesus first and listen to him. He wants this time with you to feed you, guide you, and nurture your motherhood journey in his quiet, loving grace and mercy. He stands as a gentleman and waits, knocking at the door of your heart. It is your job to open that door, welcome him in, and sit at his feet and listen. Even now, with all 3 of my own children grown, married to wonderful believers, and growing their own households, I still begin my day early with Jesus, laying all before him, waiting upon his wisdom and abiding in his grace. My prayers for my children have grown and shifted as they have grown into adulthood. All of them still remember being young children, coming out in their jammies, finding mommy in the Word, and spending time with the Lord before our family day began. I remember the days I let that time go, skipping it in order to meet the needs of a hectic day. I would always feel disconnected somewhat, not centered and not fully present, nor capable of meeting the demands of the day. These early morning times with Jesus are like air to my lungs. I encourage moms to embrace this as well. You'll never regret it. And so I guess,
Wow.
yeah, I hope that there was some encouragement here and that
Oh
there
yeah.
things to think about and just really praise to give
Yeah.
to the Lord. And this actually came up in another contributor share later in the book, talking about taking a
Yeah.
Sabbath.
Yeah.
But I've sort of modified what she shared, putting it into a daily prayer practice. Trust that the Lord, because we are so busy, right? Like,
Mhm.
there's not a mom on the planet who's going to say she's got tons of spare time, right?
Mhm.
So trusting that the Lord can do more, even just 15 minutes more with 23 hours and 45 minutes than you can do without him in a full 24 hours. And whether that's,
Yeah.
taking 15 minutes to read from here or another devotional or another tool, or getting right into the word,
Yeah.
spending time with the Lord and growing in your faith is never a waste of time.
Yeah.
And this just came to me, and I don't actually, maybe who said it. Um, Someone, a minister, maybe. I remember saying, like, I'm so busy, I'm going to spend my first 3 hours in prayer. I don't remember do you remember? I don't remember who said that, but
Oh,
that
no.
just kind of came to me. But it's just
Oh,
like,
okay. Oh,
man,
wow.
we are busy, and
Yeah,
it can be easy to not prioritize time with
yeah,
the Lord, even as a faithful person. But just really
yeah,
encouraging moms to, find something, find that time to be with Him, so that He can
yeah.
just encourage you and guidance and wisdom and provide that peace in motherhood.
Wow. Yeah, that is so, yeah, true, right on. And I like the last piece from that mom that you could tell, it was there was full so much wisdom in that, and then you tell that was from experience of obviously not maybe having done that always faithfully, and now she can see the importance. That's why she can say that with all of her heart. This
Mhm.
is so important because she knows the opposite kind of that and the benefits from it as well. So
And so do I,
yeah, yeah,
no one's
yeah,
perfect, and we're all
yeah,
just humans doing our best, and I really do. There's an incongruency in my day if I don't start with
yeah,
him. And, I don't think it has to be the moment you wake up. Maybe it's when you drop your kids off, or when, they're, doing something, but in the first few hours, at least, of waking, spend that time with
yeah.
him so he can bless your day. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think I've learned these stories, they have blessed me and my heart and my household so much. I think I've really learned that, worry and wanting to have control, tight fists around our motherhood,
Yeah.
that's not relying on God, and we're not going to feel His peace
Mhm.
if we're
Yeah.
consumed by worry and trying to control everything. Um, I don't
Yeah.
know who said it, but I wrote down here that worry ends when faith begins, and that
Okay.
is,
Okay. When you
um,
really put your faith, yeah,
yeah, and I
into
think
action.
that's easier to do when you're surrounding yourself with others who are, in the thick of motherhood or in the thick of a challenge doing the same thing. So just really
Mhm.
encouraging,
Mhm.
that Christian mom community. And, just we talked, you kind of mentioned it a little in the beginning, but, um, I want to be sure to say that, like, motherhood is still hard. There's still
Mhm.
challenges, and I'm still finding my knees in the midst
Mhm.
of parenting, you know, twin toddlers. And it doesn't matter what you've got. It's motherhood is hard, but,
Mhm. Oh
even
yeah.
though I still lose it and, raise my voice at my kids sometimes, that when I focus on him and keeping him at the center, it really is just a more joyful journey.
Mhm.
And that's my encouragement and my hope for listeners
Mm.
and for those who read the book.
Oh wow. Yeah. I mean, it totally is life changing. Makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. I
Right.
mean,
That's right.
got it. I love listening to praise and worship music throughout the day, and I think that's a big, um, has been a really big help to me, and kind of just gets me in the right mood. I love going to my music, and starting to sing along or just confirming the words, and that's really helped me with my peace and just keeping my mind in the right place, and then it helps me be, I think, more joyful and lighthearted to be able to when just chaos happens, like
Like how you
just
say, when
you know,
chaos happens, because
yeah.
it's inevitable. But
And
yeah,
then you're in a better mood, you
yeah,
know?
music,
And it's all good stuff.
that's right.
I'm
That's
sorry?
right. Oh, I was just gonna say music, it's another tool that we have. It's just such
Yeah,
a blessing
yeah,
to be able to turn that on and just, be, have that space created by, his
yeah,
words. And oh, that's so good. And I'm glad you brought that up. It's a
yeah,
great tip too.
yeah. Yeah, when it's words of truth. I mean, it's a good Christian songs with
Mhm.
talking about God and the truths and the promises of God and what He's doing for us. And what was I going to say? And He's really communicated to me through songs. There's been a variety of songs that really spoke to me after losing our son and walking through that, and songs that just really stood out to me, and it's him talking to me through these songs, and so yeah, how
You
important
want to
and
share
life
what,
giving.
well, I know you're the one asking questions, but I have a song too. But I was wondering if you'd share, if there's one that was most impactful for you during that just. unfathomable, time of
Yeah.
suffering? Was there something that the Lord, put on you that you were able to listen to that gave you even a smidge of peace? Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh, sure. I'd love to share that. Yeah. And then you should share
I
this.
will, yeah.
Your song. Yeah. Well, there was like a Friday that really spoke, especially ones that was written by artists that had a loss, because some of the artists do, like Stephen Curtis Chapman, Jeremy Camp. But anyway, no, one particular song that I've shared in different places was the one called Just Be Held. And I didn't know the name of the song, Just Be Held. Even I didn't know the name, but it came on the Christian radio station as about when we was in Texas. Now we're in Alberta, Canada right now, but it was a year after our loss, and the lines that stood out to me was, your world is not falling apart, it's falling into place. And I just started mulling it over. Your world's not falling apart, it's falling into place. Like for us, like even in our lives, like really our world isn't falling apart, and it's falling into place. And I started mulling it over and kind of asking God, what does that mean? Like really for us? And I felt that peace again, that yes, it is. And then the story of Joseph came to mind, and I was wanting to write a message to women, kind of showing how God does use bad things for his glory and turns those
Mhm.
bad things around for our good. And the story of Joseph came to mind, and I wrote then a blog post that day called Your World Is Not Falling Apart, It's Falling Into Place, and just about the story of Joseph and all those negative things was for his good. So it's a short, I guess, form of
Yeah,
that I and then
good.
I did listen to the song more, and I heard the rest of the song, which I don't know too much of just offhand, but it's really good. And then I found out the name of the song was Just Be Helped and by Casting Crowns. So yeah, really amazing that was just what I needed. God knew it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so
So
good. Well, week 3 is about loss, so I might just send you a little portion of it, because it's pretty incredible. I mean, you've kind of spoken to it, but that might be something. I'll send that to you. That might be something
Oh,
that'll feel good with for your heart. Um, for me, it was throughout our journey of infertility. Sometimes it was hard to pray. I
yeah,
felt
yeah,
it just felt hard to pray. I wasn't like mad at God necessarily, but just the confusion and the hurt and the just unknowing. I was older when we started trying anyway, just not knowing. And so anyway, for me, it is well. That
oh, okay.
that
Yeah,
was on repeat, in my shower every day of our journey to, want to be parents. And um,
yeah. Wow.
so grateful for that, because it is well in our soul, and that
Yeah.
I needed
Ah,
I needed that truth. I needed that message. So yeah.
wow. Isn't that amazing? That's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's for song. We have to be purposeful about putting the right things in our mind. It does make a difference what we dwell on. It does make a difference what we listen to.
It
And
makes a difference for our kids. We are the
yeah,
example, and it's going to be hard to raise our kids for Jesus if he's not part
yeah,
of our life and who we turn to when things are hard.
yeah,
We are
yeah.
the example, and um, if when we tune in, he sets us up to do that for his children.
For Yeah, 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 it's wonderful. And I was gonna say, I don't know if you mentioned at the front about them, but how many like years that you're walking with infertility? I don't know if I missed that.
Oh,
How long?
it was like just a couple, 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Well, about it.
Yeah,
So we didn't try the whole time. It was 18 cycles. We didn't
yeah,
try the
yeah.
whole time,
That
but
okay.
it
Just
ended up
wondering.
being 18,
Yeah,
18 cycles.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
yeah. But
yeah, I think, just that unknowing, being kind of
yeah,
older to start, and yeah,
for
quite
sure. And then
the
just
journey.
not knowing why, right? Like I haven't been in your shoes, so I don't. But just questioning God, right, and just not understanding. Like, why? Like,
Correct.
I wanna be a mother, I wanna be a mother, I'd be a good mother, why can't this
Yeah,
this
yeah.
happen and all these things, so
And this unexplained infertility
yeah,
diagnosis was about
yeah,
as helpful as, but
yeah,
then that first ever pregnancy test, and I talk about this a little in the book. I'll remember that moment, and I remember saying, of course, not in vain, but in praise of like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Here it is. And I knew in my heart there
Yeah.
were twins. It was like December of
Oh, you
2020.
did?
Yeah, December
Right
of
from the
2020. It was
you
my first
do.
ultrasound. And so my husband couldn't come. And I'm on the phone with my
Oh.
mom. And she's like, no, Monica, don't be disappointed if there's only one baby. And I just knew in my heart,
Yeah.
I'm like, the Lord, he's blessed us with two. And anyway, so he did.
Wow.
And yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
so.
I didn't know that. So that's amazing that you had just felt that he just in your heart somehow that he just
Mhm,
whispered that to you.
mhm,
You felt,
mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
thank you for letting me share. I'm glad that we connected and that
Mhm.
hopefully these, excerpts just were, a blessing to you and to listeners,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people are interested, in getting the book. It's available on Amazon. Her
Yeah.
Prayer for Peace. A friend of mine actually created an accountability group on Facebook, which I'm part
Oh,
of, but
okay.
she did it really just
Yeah.
we are busy moms. And she's like, I know there's
Yeah.
goodness in here and I want to read it, and just kind of developing that. So that's,
Okay.
it's called Her
So
Prayer
people
for
could
Peace
join.
Devotional
Okay.
Circle.
Yeah.
We did just start week 4, but it's, if people are interested, it's not too
Okay.
late. There's just a couple pages,
Yeah.
per week. And, I'm actually in the process, kind of also by request, of creating like a small group study guide, just a free
Mhm.
resource that I can email out to people, if they want to do Her Prayer for Peace as like a small group devotional together.
Mm.
Um, and kind of with that, my heart is I want people to have access to it. So if a small group is interested in participating together and they buy 5 books, I'll give one for free along with that free resource. And yeah, just cultivating that community,
Mhm.
and doing the book together.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good. Great. Glad to hear. So I can put all your links and information that you want shared in the description
Okay.
so they can find you and make that connection. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just thank you again, Monica, for joining me and our amazing conversation. It's been fun and just seeing what God's done in your life. I love these kind of stories, how God works and, redeems and brings peace in the middle of chaos, and peace in most, kind of unlikely place sometimes to find it when, and just how he shows up powerfully in our lives. So it's
Yeah.
been fun. I loved it.
So good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, you take care and with your twins and everything else you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. You
All
too.
the best
Thank
to you.
you. Bye bye.
All right. Take care.